Oh shit! Oh hell yeah!
So if only I could get my one hand going.
Did like, what is the note? The low note that under that, like,
Yeah.
is it?
So that'll
John
give you,
Williams, eat your heart out.
yeah,
baby.
that'll give you a hint of what we're talking about. We're talking about Superman 2.
2.
We're talking
Sequel
about
special.
the original cut, the Lester cut, the
cut.
Donner cut, all the cuts.
Ooh, all the cuts.
All the prime cuts of Superman 2.
Yeah, and like, it's bringing back memories when Mario Puzo's Superman.
Yeah. By the way, I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. Soon to be in hardcover like this. I have a copy of this because I made this book, and they sent me an advanced copy. But you can all get this book in August from your local comic book store, or in September from other book retailers. There's a pre-order link in the show notes below. And it's a same-day paperback release. You could also get the paperback if you would prefer. You could get both of them. And then also, at the same time, follow the link in the show notes below. You can also get the paperback edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. And I think Superman shows up in here. He makes an appearance here and there in this book.
Tom, congrats again. Those are all looking fab.
Oh, thanks.
And it's getting close. The date is almost upon us.
Yeah, we're getting there. Superman 2. Like, a lot of these things we talk about, it's like earliest memories. Superman 2, one of my earliest memories. I was on planet Earth when Superman 1 came out. I have no recollection of that. But I do remember when Superman 2 was coming out, because I remember, I think it was Burger King had Superman 2 posters that you could pick up. And my mom got me one. I loved Superman. She thought I'd be real excited about it. But we hung it up in my room, and when the lights go out and you see Superman looking very stern and staring at me, I got scared.
That's scary.
And I asked my mom to
Of
take
course,
it down,
how
so
would
she
you-
took down the poster because I was getting scared. Because Superman, that determined look on his face when the lights are out and there's just like moonlight shining in through the window. The determined look turns into like an evil glare.
He's coming for you.
Yeah.
I saw this on television.
Okay, yeah, I saw it on. I did not see it in the theater. My parents saw it in the theater and told us about it. But I was too little to see it in the theater. Did see it on TV, and then eventually, years later, taped it.
Oh,
off of TV.
nice.
Taped it on a VHS tape and watched it a million times.
All the Superman movies, like, they would be on constant rotation on Fox 53. Mm-hmm. Like, it would you just never knew which one you were gonna get. And I haven't seen the first Superman movie I saw in the theater. I think was the 2006 one.
Okay, I saw Superman 3 in the theater.
I remember you said that.
I saw Superman 3 in the theater and loved it. I also saw Rocky 3 in the theater, like around the same time. I especially loved like the video game sequence in Superman 3, and only wished a Superman video game like that existed. And then like a few years later, they came out with like a Superman arcade game that was kind of similar, kind of not too far off, and you could play as like a blue Superman or a red Superman.
That's awesome. I don't think I've got to play that one.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna track that down. I know that the Nintendo 64 Superman with the rings is supposed to be like
it's supposed to be like legendarily bad and horrible and impossibly difficult.
I would get pumped up like the John Williams score was one of my I would get when I was little. I would kind of get them confused with Star Wars.
Yeah, they'd all blend. And Indiana Jones. Like, you start humming one, and pretty soon you're humming all of them.
Yeah, like I'd be playing on my like outside and just singing like the different I had Superman pajamas, they had a cape that detached. Mm-hmm. It was Velcro to the back. So, I would, that's my, Superman costume.
I might have told you.
I wore it, last week.
I had a friend named Donald. He had a perfect Superman costume that his mom made for him. Every ounce of it, every last bit of it was, it was perfect. It was, and, when he showed up in his Superman costume, I couldn't believe, that you could get an exact Superman costume, but his mom made it for him. I was so jealous, and I wanted a Superman costume too. So his mom took one of her aprons and with a black magic marker made a Superman symbol. So that was my cape.
Oh, that's awesome. That was so nice.
It was, you know, like, yeah, it fixed the situation because I was like bumming out but like, so yeah, we're like flying around. You know?
And she wrote, I don't remember having Superman underwear.
I had Superman underoos. That was awesome. That was great. And like I had Superman underoos. And, like, I wore them to death. Like, there's photos of me as a kid wearing them where you can barely tell it's Superman anymore. Like, it's just, like, a white diamond shape, you know, because all the colors... Because I just wore it a million times. And
then, like, what? It's like, hey, why is that kid wearing white diamonds from Elizabeth Taylor underoos?
Yeah, and, like, the blue of this shirt was probably, like, acid washed or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
At this point. But, like... And then they came out with, like, immediately after, like, I guess they had already saturated the market and sold enough pairs of, like, underoos with, like, the S on it that, like, they started coming out with, like, just, it was, like, underoos where it was a picture of Superman bursting through a wall. So I got that, too. And that was, like, that did not get as much wear, because, like, you're not Superman anymore. Now you're like a Superman's hype man. You know, you got a picture of Superman on your shirt. So I didn't wear that one as much. I still liked it, but I didn't wear that. These pictures of me with my Superman shirt, my Superman underoos shirt, it's like, you would probably think the picture was this, because they're like old, you know, like browned out kind of like, you know, 80s photos.
Well, I got a lot of stuff from my older cousins. I usually mention them on the show. And one thing I got, somehow I had a fucking Greatest American Hero like shirt.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even know that existed.
And like, I swear, like I had, it was either, it could have been in my own mind like Superman, because I felt like I played Greatest American Hero more than I played Superman.
Yeah, right. You could relate to him a little more.
And like, I would just sing like, I have the cape on, do the whole 9 yards and stuff. But like, yeah, there's another shirt that I had as a little kid wearing. It had a skeleton blowing up a disco ball with like a machine gun, and it said, it was a little kid's shirt. I don't know where they were sold this. It had glitter on it and stuff. It said, "Mess with the best, die like the rest." And I'm a little, like, we had it in a bag for my cousins, and I was like, I want to wear that.
Did your cousins have like Playboy shirts? Because that was the other thing. Like that older kids were like wearing like Playboy. Like Playboy bunny kind of, you know.
No, the closest to that kind of stuff was the Big Johnson shirts that our principal was like,
wear.
Do not wear. I don't want to see anyone wearing a Big Johnson shirt.
Like Superman 2, watched it like way more than any other Superman movie, and then kind of, you know, got tired of it, thought it was corny or whatever. And then, like, I hadn't seen like the original Superman in a long time. And then like in like high school, I watched the original Superman again, expecting to like goof on it, and then like was like so in love with it and stuff. But yeah, like Superman 2, it has the Zod, like the Phantom Zone criminals fight in it, which is like, that's
so awesome.
That's what you're there for.
And they have such an iconic look too.
Yeah.
Like,
there's like black
Terrence
jumpsuits.
Stamp.
Yeah, Terrence Stamp is great.
Jack O'Halloran and is it Sarah Douglas from we've seen her going against Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, but when I started learning about the Donner cut and stuff like that, then I kind of shifted alliances to the Donner cut, and all of a sudden, like I've watched Superman 2 a few times since then, but most of the time, if I'm in the mood for, like, if I'm watching the first Superman and then I want to keep the party going, I'll put on the Donner cut more often than this. Again, and it is a shame, because it's like the Donner cut is like missing some ingredients, you know, and then they do fill in some Lester stuff. Like,
you mentioned like the Gene Hackman, like,
right, yeah,
phony Gene Hackman.
Because like any Gene Hackman scene in Superman 2 is filmed by Richard Donner. Gene Hackman never worked with Richard Lester on a Superman movie. Brando never worked with Richard Lester on Superman 2 either.
What
they were all Donner scenes.
Was because I know Donner. It was like he was ahead of the curve. He was doing Superman 1 and 2, filming them simultaneously. And then he realized he needed to put his efforts into getting Superman 1 finished.
Yeah, I think the Salkinds, that doing them all at once was like their idea, and then, you know, Donner is like trying to make this thing work, and then he kind of, you know, and yeah, like you said, and they just had all kinds of fights, you know, the Salkinds and Donner, and like they were just terrified that their movie was just never going to come out, and this, you know, and like anything that went wrong they could blame on Donner, but and I think also, I think they wanted to work with Richard Lester to begin with on Superman 1, but maybe he was like unavailable, or maybe, you know, they're trying to get this thing greenlit, they're trying to get this thing through, and it's like they're trying to stack the deck. So it's like we got Marlon Brando, we got Gene Hackman, you know, we got like the biggest stars in it, and then it's like, who's the hottest director? And, you know, and he was red hot at that, you know, the Omen, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, I think maybe Donner, they brought in the same way. It's kind of like they bring in Donner and Brando, and, you know, to kind of get it off the ground, and then it's like they jettison those things like ASAP. There was kind of like a little bit of a mutiny when all of a sudden, you know, they shot Superman 1 and like half or 75% of Superman 2 or whatever, and then they come back to finish off Superman 2, and all of a sudden it's a new director, and they were all like, what's going, you know, where's, because like everybody like Richard Donner, everybody loves him, you know, like
and there's also like an unspoken rule too, if like the director gets fired, like the cinematographer's supposed to like quit too, I think.
Well, the cinematographer died between Superman 1 and Superman 2. That's why, like, you can tell a lot of the Lester scenes, because the Fortress of Solitude, like I mean, just that cinematographer, I forget his name, but he was like one of those old, like, he'd been around forever.
A technician, a true craftsman.
And like he makes these beautiful scenes where like it dissolves into nothing. And that was the other thing, like Donner would talk about this guy would just be like blowing smoke everywhere, because like again it has this like hazy magical quality, and you can see this is a Richard Lester scene in the Fortress of Solitude, and there's no like depth, there's no atmosphere, it's all just kind of like
looks like a soundstage.
Yeah, it's all very stagey, and that's
you can sink your teeth into the other one.
Yeah.
And it's so funny too, I was reading stuff where like they mentioned like Lester's like, I was going for more jokey stuff, and he's like, yeah, and the Pud Puller Donner was going for that bum Richard Lee, like
Lawrence
Arabia. He's like, they're like real sweeping shots and epic and juicy stuff, and he's like, I'm more like a jokester or whatever.
It's tough, because the whole Superman thing, like if you're a fan of the Superman movies, you do end up in this like fan thing of like pitting Richard Lester against Richard Donner. But meanwhile, it's like you know, they're just, you know, they're, and like Richard Lester, you would think it would be awesome. Like Richard Lester is this like beloved director and stuff. Yeah, the Musketeers. And that was like, he worked with the Salkinds on the Musketeers. So I think they wanted to work with him for Superman, but like maybe he was unavailable, or maybe like we were saying, like maybe it was like just trying to get like somebody who's got a little more like more Hollywood high voltage. And then Hard Day's Night, you know, Beatles, you know, Richard Lester, the Hard Day's Night guy. And again, it's like, oh, the Richard Lester stuff is so jokey, but like it's not like the Donner stuff was humorless. Like Donner had like a bunch of humor too, but it's like there's a delicate balance to be struck. And like Lester like kind of like loves kind of like Laurel and Hardy kind of stuff. Like it's a lot of like slapstick and stuff. And
I'm here for all that shit.
When you see Superman 3, that's okay. Like Superman 2 is like part Donner, part Lester. Superman 3 is all Lester, and it's like that whole opening scene where, you know, it's like, you know, I was like, wah, wah, wah. It's like an episode of Three's Company.
It definitely is. I cannot wait for a Superman 3 all-in episode. It's like, and
it's like, okay, where's Superman? It's like he doesn't even want to be making a Superman movie. It's just, you know.
Someone's on death row, like in the electric chair, and you screen them The Quest for Peace as their last movie.
Like, and in the Donner cut, like, the fight scenes with, because it's like, you want to see Superman go against somebody who's like a match for him. That's what I love about like the Jack Kirby stuff, because like, you know, with like Darkseid and stuff, he comes up with like villains who are like a match for Superman. And so the Phantom Zone villain fight, you know, it's like you love it, and that's like kind of the really memorable part from this. But then like you watch the Donner cut, where there's all kinds of like amazing special effects that they didn't use, and like, you know, either Lester reshot or Lester was going through, you know, and just, you know, didn't have his finger on the pulse of everything Donner had done, and so he's grabbing like really there'll be like a scene where Superman punches you know, Non or something, and Non goes flying, and in the Lester cut, Non is just kind of like, you know, you see him being pulled back on a string, just kind of like, whoa, you know, straight like that. But then in the Donner version, they have this footage of Superman punching him, and then Non going like doing this, like, you know, this pirouette or whatever as he like flies into the Coca-Cola sign or whatever and blows up. It's like, you know, amazing. And then there's a bunch, and then like the stuff at the White House, that's all Donner. That's so like all the best stuff in here is the Donner stuff.
And then like the Eiffel Tower opening is a Lester movie.
That's Lester. And that, like, yeah, he's got a little bit of Altman too. So then like people are mumbling stuff, and then like, yeah, like you got the subplot, like Lester introduces the subplot of orange juice. Of like, you know, Lois wanting orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice, and it becomes like a runner through the whole thing, and then he like breaks his thumb, you know, he breaks the squeezer on his thumb, and then she has the thing when she's spelling like Pulitzer Prize, big P, little U, and like as a kid I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why should? But again, it's just kind of like, it's business, you know. It's like,
or like him getting his ass beat at that diner.
Well, that's a Donner.
Is that a Donner?
That's all. And Donner said that, tried to put out the claim that that's not a Donner scene, but Donner's like, if you look, I'm in it, and like Donner shows up, he's like in the parking lot.
That makes sense, because that's like got an edge to it, a little like nastiness.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that Diners. I feel so bad for
I know,
Superman when he gets his ass handed to him.
And also, I love how like it is funny. Christopher Reeve's like a 7-foot like stud, and he's like, "All right, you dweeb, you fucking like chisel, you pencil neck." And then Christopher Reeve, his like, you know, his voice does belie. He's like, he's the one that's like, "Oh, Lois." Woo.
Yeah, right. He puts on a Kermit the Frog song voice. You know, he's like, "Hey, Rainbow Connection."
Rainbow Connection. But he's a fucking yost. Yeah. He's like a chiseled stud. He's like, all right, look at this pencil.
Right.
Yeah, the guy
like a pencil neck. Yeah, and like meanwhile his head just goes like through. Yeah,
is ripping off of his neck. I was laughing at that.
The wig work in Superman 2 is like so bad because it's like, we've gone from like 78 to 80, and like hairstyles have changed, all of this stuff. So there's like a little, and so now they got these like wigs, because like, you know, in real life, you know, they're like rocking some 80s dudes, but then it's like they gotta have continuity with the 70s dudes,
of course.
So like, you know, she's got a very obvious wig, he's got like a very obvious wig.
If you want to see his true hair, he got a letter, like he finished that movie Somewhere in Time,
right? Yeah,
and he had to start filming this like 4 days after he finished that movie. So whatever his hair looks like in that is his true coif at the time. Okay,
it's more of like a chestnut color, and it's a little more like, you know, it's like
it's a little more Buffon, a little more Danzig, you might say. Yeah. You go to the hair restoration specialist, and it's like he puts a little Danza thing on there, and the hair starts. It's like Old Faithful.
One of the things they mentioned is that like there's like a scene in this Fortress of Solitude where they're like, you know, oh, you know, hold on to it. Oh, it's bigger than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it was they said it was supposed to be like either you're looking at their silhouettes or like the camera is like off to the, you're not seeing them, and so then you assume there's something, like they're having sex or something, and you know, oh, it's bigger than I thought it would be or something, and then like it pans over or whatever, and you see like, oh, they're like making a souffle, or they're like opening a bottle of wine, champagne or something, and they said like, you know, Lester and the Salkinds did not get that at all, and so they just show like the two of them standing there like, oh, it's bigger than I thought it would be. You know?
It's like, the problem is I got all these powers and stuff. These like, the thing you don't know about is like my dick shrinks on her. You think it's like it gets all the power,
everything else beefs up except that it goes in reverse. Hey, yeah, you just never know how these things are gonna go.
That's what he says. He's like, you win some, you lose some.
Now in the Donner cut, all these scenes, like in the original version, he's talking to his mother, but in the Donner cut, he was going to be talking to Jor-El. It was going to be like, and the Donner cut, you see all those scenes, like it was sort of a revelation. You're seeing all these scenes of Marlon Brando and stuff in here, all this stuff he shot, and then there's even a scene where they like, he manifests himself, like in the room together, and so when it's like they're not going to bring back Brando because they would have to pay him some like amount of money to show up. Instead they got Laura, Superman's mom, same actress, to sort of be his like mentor through this, in there and stuff. It was like a workaround to get around not having Brando, and I really like seeing Brando. Like it kind of pays off the first movie really nicely having Brando in there, but it kind of works for this too, having his mom, because it's like a more sensitive story. Like part one, it's like it's his dad, and it's all this like harsh, tough love kind of stuff, and then it's like now it's a story about his sensitive side and falling in love and all that kind of, and it kind of does make sort of like mythic, like hero's journey sense to have like his mom sort of be like the goddess that's overseeing all this.
And like it's nice to have those two.
I love that they both exist. Yeah, and again, I'm Team Donner all the way. Oh yeah. But this movie's not. This movie's not a piece of shit either.
Yeah, it's like the warring factions.
Right. Yeah. the Donners and the Lesters show up and. Man, see? We're the Donner gang, see?
Oh, yeah, this scene, I'm like, that's me on Mondays, am I right?
Yeah, she's getting all weirded out watching it. And, of course, like, the Donner cut has this amazing opening scene where she's got the paper, and she's like, you're Superman. I got you. That's amazing. That's an amazing scene. That might be the best scene in the whole series, and it's left on the cutting room floor.
Is the Niagara Falls bits Lester?
The Niagara Falls bits are Lester. They are filmed by Lester. Richard Donner never got to like film a Niagara Falls scene, and so in the Donner cut, they have to use the Lester footage for that, just because there's like there'd just be a big hole in the movie. But they use it minimally, like they use as little of it as possible. And they don't have, like the doorman and stuff, that smarmy doorman who's, waiting for his tip.
There's a picture of me in Niagara Falls, and those railings are not the one where she jumps over, but the other railings are still there. I don't know if they...
Where, like, the kid falls over? Yeah. This looks like it might be a Donner shot, just because you see there's like a little more atmosphere in there.
There is. A little more like a little something.
Yeah. And then his Kryptonian fuck pad, that little corner with like the silver bed. Like if a water bed wasn't sleazy enough, he's got this like silver bed.
He's got some
tinfoil bed.
Kryptonite mirror above his head.
Yeah, because the sheets are mirrored themselves. He's got mirrored sheets.
He goes.
It looks like it's like a sex bungee or something.
She's like, I'm getting sick. Why is this bed rotating? He like breathes on the polishes the ice. He's like, he's like, I got fondue. I've got this.
It's very 70s.
He goes in. It's like what Nixon. He goes in.
Well, this would be Carter.
Carter here. They like blow through like a big pile of peanuts and stuff.
I know between Superman 1 and Superman 2, it's like Carter, and maybe Carter was still in the White House by the time Superman 2 came out. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It might have been Reagan by that point.
When they bust.
But this is all Donner too. All this like action and the cut. This whole scene of like the takeover of the White House is like extended in the Donner cut. You get more. It's really great. And like Zod. They cut out a part because I have like the Donner cut kind of like memorized at this point, but like they cut out. There's a part where Zod gets that like machine gun, and he's just going. He's like turns into Rambo. He's just having fun, and he's got this big smile on his face, like shooting everything up.
When they land and Billy Carter spits out his Billy beer, he's like he does a spit take.
It's kind of cool too because like that convention of having like a non-existent president as the president kind of works here, because then they come in and they're like, "Are you the president?" And he's like, "Yes, I am." And then it's like, and then it turns out he's not.
It's Clint Howard.
Right.
He's like,
yeah, it kind of looks like Clint Howard. Kneel before Zod. No man would kneel.
And the president kicks him in the butt. He's like, "I told you not to kneel right away. You butt. You fucking butt." He's like, "Remind me to fire this guy if we get out of this alive." He's like,
and then he's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like,
Zod.
Get up, you numbskull! He grabs him by the hair, lifts him up.
As he's
nincompoop.
That's what I was thinking. He's like, when the guy turns around to walk to the back level, he goes, "Forget this alive. Your ass is fired. Consider yourself fired."
Now the guy who actually does play the president, you couldn't lift him up by his hair because it would come up in your hand. I mean, look at that piece.
Yeah. It looks, that's in the Helmet Hair Hall of Fame.
That's a comb-over king, the king of the comb-overs. You do wonder, how does a non-powered Clark Kent walk back to the North Pole from Canada? So look, you'll see, that's Donner right there. See that guy?
Oh,
with the
yeah,
pipe?
there
That's
he is.
Donner as they're pulling into Don's Diner. Come on.
The Sulcan.
Man, don't you love that diner though? Classic little diner.
I got so hungry. They're like, "What do you want?" She's like, "I get a cheeseburger with everything on it, fries, and a Coke." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, play some of that pinball.
It's a great diner if it wasn't for that
that bully that keeps coming in.
Yeah, and he's like, it's so fucking funny. Christopher Reeve's like a head taller than that guy.
This'll just be a minute steak.
Yeah,
he's like sizing him up. Yeah.
If he thinks he's like a fucking geek, I'm in deep shit. He's
He's fighting like a 60-year-old Tony Curtis. He's like
this guy. He's like.
You're right. This guy is like a Frank Sinatra impersonator or something.
It's a Joe Piscopo impersonator. Yeah, he's like. I'd fight. He's like, "I'd kick your ass if I didn't have my catheter riding up so high," or whatever.
Excuse me, sir. Would you care to take this outside?
It'll just be a second. I'm gonna beat up this 7-foot tall fucking Adonis here. You pencil neck. If that guy's calling Christopher Reeve a pencil neck,
look, he stands up and it's like,
look,
he's staring right at his chin.
Yeah. He'll be
staring right at this this chin of the god.
The gods. Yeah, he's like, it'll just be 1 second.
Yeah.
While I kick this beefcake's ass. Yeah, it always bothered me when he started bleeding.
Yeah, Superman bleeding.
That guy was like, "I'd kick your ass even more if I didn't have to go." I'd kick your ass a little more if I didn't have to make my 6:30 silver sneakers program at the Y. He's like, "Look at this." He's like, "Look at this, everybody. I beat this guy's ass. I haven't even had my Metamucil yet."
How sweet is the comeuppance though when
Oh yeah.
when he shows up and he's like. Yeah, it is funny because there's scenes where that cusp of when the 70s become the 80s, it is this point of no return, and there's scenes where it's like, okay, that's the 70s, and it's like, okay, that's the 80s.
He sits down at the diner. He's like, "1 bowl of grape nuts."
Extra fiber, please.
It just makes me like, there's no hope for me. He's like, "Look at this sunken chest."
Right? Yeah, his nipples are touching each other. But yeah, look how different Margot Kidder looks, and how her hair is different. Her hair is kind of it's like that haircut that you would wear at the skating rink, with your roller skates.
There must have been something in the air in the 70s. No one's able to feather hair like it was in the 70s.
Yeah, maybe it's the lead water or something.
Yeah, it had an effect on the feathering.
Yeah, all the leaded gasoline in the air and Zod is like cutting a promo. Like he's on TV
Definitely.
doing like total WWF kind of. You know.
Oh hell yeah! Mean Gene Okerlund is like just right out of frame there. He's like, I'll see your ass at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean that's like the fun of this, and that is like that's what like Marvel always had over DC. Like DC didn't like Marvel captured that energy in a way DC never did, and like in this one you're starting to get that. And if this series, if like it had continued with Donner, I feel like it would, you know, and he says like, yeah, he would have brought in, you know, like Brainiac and all the, you know, all the crew, you know, but instead it's like we never got to like up the stakes in like a real way, and so then this kind of this franchise just like falls apart, and then it's like, and then you had that one in the 2000s, Superman Returns. And part of the plan was to have Jude Law play Zod.
Okay.
So Zod was going to be in that, but then Jude Law wasn't available, so they like left Zod out of it altogether. And it's like, so again, we get like another movie where like Superman just like, you know, punches rocks, you know, and like lifts boats, and it's like you want Superman going like toe to toe with like
Zod.
Not it doesn't have to be Zod. Like why can't it be like Brainiac or somebody? But like. Go toe to toe with somebody who's his match. You know?
Yeah, like the trailer for that 2006 movie is like one of my favorite trailers of all time.
I mean, I love that movie. Like, it's just like, it's like how many Superman movies do you have to make before we get, you know, which was something I liked about the Snyder cut was it's like okay, at least now we got Superman versus some new gods, you know, at least but it's like This is all Donner. Again, you got like more sort of 70s hair.
Now that is a helmet hair.
And look at the sort of misty, you know, backgrounds and stuff. It was this body of knowledge that was just, you know, dying out as these guys were, you know, literally dying, you know. And so the ending, the original plan for like the Superman 1 and 2 like whole thing was that the ending of Superman 2 would be like the turning back time. And so but then, you know, Donner again as crunch time's coming in, he's like, look, I can't be thinking about 2 movies. I got to finish this one. If I don't finish this one movie, we don't have anything. So I'm going to take that ending from Superman 2 and put it in Superman 1. And then when we get to Superman 2, we'll figure it out. And so what ended up happening, like the Lester solution was sort of like the magical kiss that makes her forget, which, you know, I think works. I like that. But like when they did the Donner cut, they did it as if, you know, they did the turning back time in that, you know, because that was like the original plan, and they never, you know, Donner never got to shoot or come up with a different kind of scene, so they just used that as the capital. I'm
craving the Donner cut now. I'm like,
well, the Donner cut's kind of fun because you get like Perry White going, you know, doing his nightly toilet or whatever, and he's putting the toothpaste on his toothbrush, and then the toothpaste starts going back in the tube, you know. So it's like fun stuff like
he's
that.
He's taking a shit.
The shit goes back in.
He shows him. He's like, then he goes back in time. It shows his face. He's like.
So you get in the Lester cut, you get whatever scenes of Gene Hackman that Richard Donner shot are in there, but then Lester has some more Lex Luthor scenes, but no Gene Hackman. So it's he's from behind. It's you know, fake Shemp. It's like he's from behind or he's real far away. And then there's a voiceover. I don't know if it's like Rich Little or something because Gene Hackman's kind of doing like a Nixon, like particularly in these sort of, you know, White House scenes. Like he's particularly doing a Nixon in like the Superman 2 scenes. I don't know if he's as much of a Nixon in Superman 1, but definitely in Superman 2. And so then for the fake Gene Hackman is like just a straight up, it's like full on Nixon impersonation. So I'm thinking it's Rich Little.
Rich Little or Fred Travelina.
Yeah. But it is real bad, and like those are the parts. It's like, oh, you know, here we go now. You know, here we go again, Mr. Smoker. You know, like that kind of stuff.
He's like, we should have known it was Travelina when he's like, there's always a Luthor in the deck.
Yeah. Good job, Superman. Like that kind of thing. Let's get these guys. Come on. You know, like there's that. But when you see Gene, this is and look again, you see atmosphere too. Like you see.
Was he having the smoke? You said
smoke.
Like,
yeah, you see it where Ursa is, how she's like a little
hazy,
more hazy. Yeah, Terrence Stamp.
Hackman.
What a comeback, Terrence Stamp as Zod, and it's like, oh man, that sort of like that young mod Terrence Stamp. Oh, he's an old man now. He's probably like 40.
Yeah,
in this.
Dude, I gotta show you this thing because I'm turning. My birthday's coming up here.
Yeah.
And I have this picture of all these different actors when they're 40,
yeah.
and they look like
right.
like.
Because I always see these pictures because they have the picture of the traveling Wilburys where it's like half of them are in their 30s, and then like Roy Orbison is like 42 or something, and then all these and then the Golden Girls, they do where it's a picture of the Golden Girls and then all their ages. Yeah, and then the cast of Cocoon.
The Brimley line.
The Brimley line.
I like when he does the judo chop to the desk.
Mm-hmm. And that's a Donner one, too, where the desk, splits in half. That's one of my favorite moments, too. All this, over-the-top superhero stuff.
I like how he,
that's fun, too. And, again, this is all Donner.
Hits him right through the ceiling.
Yeah. That's the way Zod planned it. That's the way Zod wants it to be. On Krypton. Get him. That's the way Donner planned it. And I love the city. I love how fake the sort of fake metropolis looks for these nighttime. This is so iconic, and it's like there's, if you're looking through old star logs, there's so much of this in there, so many of these kind of there's just that, Superman and Zod and the Phantom Zone criminals against this fakey fake
I love
model skyline. It's so iconic, and it's
it looks so great.
Why couldn't this have kept going? Why did they have to make Superman 3 and have it suck? Why did they have to make Superman 4 and have it suck even worse?
I was, when I was watching this, I was just thinking about someone complaining about the special effects in this, where I'm loving every set.
Oh, that's the green screen and stuff, or the blue. It was blue screen. It was blue screen, and then they had to make his costume green. So the blue didn't clash with the blue screen, and then they had to color correct it back.
Damn.
It was a whole.
I love all these old. I love the old special effects. Look at that.
Yeah, just so much fun, and
the South Street Seaport or something.
And I didn't know that this movie kind of underperformed. I thought it was Superman 1 huge hit, Superman 2 huge hit. And then
I didn't even realize that.
And then Superman 3 it starts to kind of bottom out. But yeah, this was a commercial disappointment. The other thing, they kind of had this emergent, when Donner was off the movie, they kind of had this emergency meeting where okay, what do we do? And so they said at this meeting, people were okay, what kind of powers can they have? Oh, how about they shoot a beam out of their finger? How about they do this and this? And Donner was I would have never done any of that. But then the one that I do I always liked when he pulls the Superman shield off his chest and throws it at them, and it grows big and ensnares them. I always loved that because it was such a surprise, because it was it's super, you think everything about Superman, but he's got one or two surprises. He's got in his bag of tricks, and I liked that. And Donner doesn't like that. He said he wouldn't have done that, but that's one of the things, because it's you got to mess with the lore a little bit. You got to pull a fast one here and there. See, did you see the way he just went flying straight back?
Yeah,
that's how it is when they punch. But in the Donner cut, they get punched and they go. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
It cracks me up too when they're back at the White House. He's there's some, I can't remember the actual dialogue, but he's there's somebody that would be your match, and he's who is this imbecile?
I love that line. Who is this imbecile? And the way it's delivered,
it's so good.
Who is this imbecile?
He cracks me up.
Yeah, there's also kind of multiple cuts too. There is a cut where you see the police, you see sort of Arctic police, I guess, or something, where they're taking away, Luthor and the Phantom Zone criminals after the whole thing wraps up.
Oh shit.
It was like one of the TV cuts or something.
Tom, like the Donner Cut's 100%. Like I haven't watched it for a while. Like I'm gonna. That's next on.
Yeah, I mean it's fun to do
viewing.
both, and it is like, there's still nostalgia, and it's like, you kind of love it warts. You love Superman 2 warts and all. It's just there's a couple scenes in that Donner Cut that are like so amazing that it's like worth it to check out just for those. But I like if I watch Superman and the Superman 2 Donner Cut back to back, that's a fun
Wow,
time.
that sounds great.
This like the Lester one, there's aspects of it that kind of bum me out. There's Optimus Prime. It is also kind of sad that this is like the last work, because Superman 3 isn't really much of a sequel to this, and Superman 4 less so. So it's it is kind of sad to see something just fizzle out, little by little.
I didn't know this underperformed, or was it like I always figured Superman 2 was like a smash.
I thought maybe it did even better than Superman. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you got the villains.
And I assumed when I was little, like Superman 3 was huge. Too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, this was everywhere. This Superman, like the media blitz was behind it. I guess it's just like, there was just other stuff going on.
Was this 80 or 81? I can't remember what year Superman 1 78 or 79.
Yeah, it's like 78, and then Superman 3 is like 83 maybe.
Yeah, I think
Christopher Peace is 87, and you know how I know? I went to see RoboCop, and they wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't let me in without a parent. And so then it's like, okay, we can't get into RoboCop. Do you want to see Superman 4? And we were like, no, I don't want to see. Like we knew better. So then we just went across the street and played in the arcade for like a couple hours. Used the money, that we had for the movie and played at the arcade.
Time that I was turned away from a rated R movie was the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
And my mom, me and my buddy like ran outside and flagged her down as she was driving away, and made her come in to watch the movie with us.
I was so mad. Like I was like just outraged about the whole RoboCop thing. And then when I finally saw RoboCop on VHS, I was like, I could have watched this movie. This movie, what are you talking? Why can't I see this movie? And it did bum me out for a really long time. Like until I sort of had my home projector and was finally able to watch RoboCop, projected big, and then I was like, okay, I have some closure in my life.
Tom, I can't believe you were so close to seeing RoboCop.
I know, in the theater. How great would that have been? And I probably could have just like told some kind of lie or something, but I couldn't just lie and be like, oh, my mom.
I just can't believe that, like, yeah, they're like,
because there were like some older, there was like a couple who was saying like, oh, we'll get you guys in. I was like, no, I can't, too afraid of like breaking the rules and like getting in trouble. It's no.
Yeah, they're like, we got you guys.
Yeah, and I was like, but yeah, should have.
They're like, you're not 18 or whatever. I'm like, give me a break.
And RoboCop was like the last great movie for a while. Like 87. After RoboCop, it was just a bunch of stinkers. Like that was the movie to see, and then it was kind of like a dry spell until like Tarantino comes along.
Oh, speaking of Tarantino, I don't know if you saw that he. I know it's in the Superman 2 episode, but he released a statement saying that Rick Dalton has passed away.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it.
No, I didn't.
There's a ton of stuff. Like I saw that. He is made a formal, huge announcement that Rick Dalton has died.
I think he cares about Rick Dalton and like overestimates the extent to which we care about Rick Dalton. Like I loved that movie. I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought it was great. It might be his best movie. Like we had a great time seeing it.
Love it.
But like, I don't give two shits about Rick Dalton.
He apparently he died the same day as Jim Brown passed away.
Okay.
And on the Video Archives podcast on Tuesday, they're going to have a tribute to Rick Dalton.
Okay, I'll have to listen. But it's like
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I appreciate his commitment, but it is kind of fun. Like who cares?
Rick Dalton is dead.
Yeah.
They're like, I like how he's also. I think it's the same. I think he announced it the same day that Jim Brown. He's like, a real person has died.
Yeah, he's trying to upstage.
That's what I was thinking. Like, why would you release it the same day? Was he like waiting for Jim Brown to die?
Yeah, like he hates Jim Brown, and he's like, I'm not gonna let this guy get any like attention on his.
Yeah, but Rick Dalton is dead.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. A lot of product placement during this.
We love
now. A lot of this product placement gets cut out of the Donner cut.
Some KFC.
Yeah, love that like old school KFC stuff.
Let's get some JVC and Time.
Yeah, the JVC was in like Superman 1. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. And here they are, advanced copies of the soft cover of Jack Kirby, and then the soft cover of I Am Stan, and the hard cover. And all of these books will be in comic stores in August and at other retailers in September. And there's a pre-order link in the show notes below where you can pre-order those books.
And Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
It was fun talking about Superman 2 with you, Matt.
Pretty awesome. Donner cut in the hopper here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The
Donner and Lester, they're reunited in heaven. And they're like I don't think. I mean, maybe there was some like, weirdness, but I don't think like Lester and Donner had any kind of like real major animosity or anything, because it was just kind of a situation that they just kind of found themselves in. It wasn't
a businessy, like out of their hands